Welcome to the WiseTake DFS podcast. I am your host, CK013. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I'm joined tonight by Patio Joe. You can find him on Twitter at Patio Joe Ref. Patio Joe, how we doing tonight?
Doing pretty well. Teams are kind of some of them are above the pay lines. I didn't play any cash because my son went home sick, so that kind of cut off my research process. So I only played tournaments. So I don't think I'm going to have a zero night, but I don't think I'm going to be winning any money anyways. But, you got to just tread water some nights.
Yeah,
that's DFS.
Yeah, you're 100% right, man. That's DFS. That's half the battle is learning how to tread water, man. When when you're having a couple days where you don't have the time, or you can't seem to get your research in like you would like to. If you're gonna play anyway, then you're just hoping to survive at that point. So, hey, man, sounds like you had a pretty good night then.
Yeah, can't complain.
Yeah, man. It was rough for me, man. The early slate, my cash games are awesome. Cashed all my cash games pretty comfortably, and then in the later games, I made a pivotal mistake, man. And you're gonna laugh too, because obviously you guys always make fun of me for being a Mets homer, which I am. I'm a Mets fan, so if they're in a good spot, yeah, you know your team, right? And I pivoted off of Wilmer Flores onto Evan Longoria. Just a terrible move. I freaked out for some reason because I was like, "Are you being a homer? You're just being a homer." And then Longoria is a better hitter than Flores in the long run, and which probably isn't even true anymore. I think Longoria is on a whole different level of stink. And the long story short, I did okay on the night. On the day, I'm still profitable because I did have more. I was more comfortable with the early slate, so I actually played more on that one. And so even though I didn't cash in all of my cash games in the night slate, I still ended up profitable. So again, treading water, man. It's another good day.
Yeah, it's funny because Flores, I don't really ever look at him unless there's a lefty playing.
Yeah. Well, what I saw, and like this is something like obviously Patio, we're working on the WiseTake model. I told you that we're working with the data guy. We got a lot of things coming out. The WiseTake model is one of them. And it's it has the ratings and all that, which is great. But more importantly, it has all the stats that we need right there in one spot. So the stats that we collectively feel like are important, like you want a large sample size. It goes back 2 years. And then what I noticed was Cozart actually had reverse splits for some reason on the road. Not for some reason, he just did. So that's really what kind of led me to Flores, because I was playing Sale and cash. I was obviously. So then it was like, I'm going Sale. I got to find, punt at third base. And it's like, well, Flores is batting fifth today. And I did the research, and I noticed Cozart. Well, the model did have Flores higher than normal. Normally, you don't see him high up there unless he's against a lefty. He wasn't high, but he was like middle of the road. So I was like, okay, so why is he up here? And then I look, and sure enough, Cozart's got reverse split. So I was like, hey, man, he's cheap. He's batting fifth or whatever it is. And and then of course, I played him in all my GPPs, but then I took him out of the cash, which ended up, obviously. That was a big mistake. Oh man! All right, man. We got another double slate day here. So why don't we get started? You ready?
Let's do this.
All right, awesome. First game we got here, we got Ivan Nova of the Pittsburgh Pirates visiting Bartolo Colon of the Atlanta Braves. Go ahead.
Yeah, the pitching slate this in the morning is not very good, and I think Ivan Nova might be my pitcher in the morning. His Sierra is under 4. His ERA is about 2.63. He's facing a Braves team that they're nothing formidable with Freeman not in that lineup. So yeah, and then on the other side, Bartolo Colon is the pitcher that you're going to want to attack hard. Adam Frazier right now is on fire. The guy only got, I think he only got one hit today, and he put up almost 50 points. So that is, if you want to talk about a productive player, he had 4 walks, a steal. His one hit was a home run, and then he had 3 RBIs, and it's just amazing. So that's what you need in your lineup to have that. If you could do that, especially in cash, that's awesome. And also, the other lefties, Josh Bell, he had an off night tonight, but he'd be good. And any other lefty is against Cologne, and any of the Pirates hitters.
Yeah, man. Nova, I have a tough time playing Nova just because the K upside thing. Don't get me wrong, the Braves don't have Freeman. It's a very good time to play Nova against the Braves if you're gonna. You definitely don't want to play him with Freeman in there. He struggles mightily against lefties. He seems to struggle over the last couple of years on the road, which is funny because within that time frame he played at Yankee Stadium, so you would think that his numbers would have been worse at home, but they weren't. They're still over the last 2 years. He's still worse on the road. I guess it kind of balances out because now he plays in Pittsburgh, so he went from like one side to the up to the opposite. So, but I don't mind it. I don't think it's a bad idea at all. We've seen him get stuff done this year, and I would imagine this could be a time where his offense might actually be in a pretty good spot here against Cologne. We were just talking how in the extra innings they just went nuts with like back home runs or something like that. So I'm all for the offense here. Adam Frazier, you mentioned Josh Bell. I like him a lot. And yeah, I think I might like some of these Braves bats a little bit. I'm just because his road WOBA over the last couple of years is like 340 something. So it's like, I don't mind the Braves. I don't think I'm gonna go there, but you're right. The pitching is terrible. So my mind could change tomorrow morning when I wake up and I'm really having to look and having to pick one of these pitchers, man, because this early slate stuff is pretty rough. Let's see. We got Miguel Almonte of the Kansas City Royals visiting Masahiro Tanaka of the New York Yankees. It looks like we could have some rain, about 69% chance of precipitation. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I'd be looking at that. If there's going to be any rain, I'd definitely be off Tanaka. Tanaka he's the highest, he's the biggest favorite on the board. That's just because I think the opposite pitcher, nobody really knows much about him. I mean, I've never heard of him. So attack, especially in Yankee Stadium, those lefties. On the other side, the Royals, you can attack them with Tanaka. He hasn't been good, so why not? But if there's going to be rain at all, I think that obviously pitchers you would cross off. You wouldn't play Tanaka, and the hitters. I think that besides maybe Gardner, Judge, Gregorius is actually heating up lately. People don't realize that Gregorius is having a really, really good last couple of games. So I'm actually going to pull him up. I wanted to talk about him today, but yeah, that's what I got for the Yankee game.
Yeah, man, I think you hit it right on the head. If the weather clears up, then I don't mind Tanaka. I think he's certainly more intriguing, and his swinging strike, despite the fact that he's not playing that well this year, his swinging strike rate is up, which is promising. So you figure with a team like the Royals who struggle, not to mention the Royals are one of the lowest in this early slate. They're one of the lowest run totals as far as Vegas goes. So of course, like you said, if the weather's going to be an issue, you don't want to put him in like a cash game. But if the weather clears up, he could be somebody you can consider, and his price is pretty good on FanDuel, 8-3. And like you said, man, I don't know much about this Almonte guy. Maybe I'll do some research on him tomorrow. But I love the Yankees bats. It's hard not to. They seem to slow it up a little bit, but like you said, Didi hit a home run today. He's been heating up. I wouldn't be surprised to see Hicks has been a monster. So if Hicks is going to play, which I would imagine he would, he's in a pretty good spot. So I'm with you, man.
So here's Didi last since the 16th. 18, 19, 9, and then he had a couple zeros. Then he comes back to 18, 25, 0, and 28 points tonight. So, the guy's hitting good. He's heating up, obviously coming off of the elbow injury he had off of the WBC. So he seems to be healthy now. So play him. I like him. He's only 3,200. So, yeah, but watch the weather. That's definitely.
We've had so much horrible weather, especially here on the coast these last few days. It makes everybody's job a lot harder, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got Tyler Anderson, the lefty from the Colorado Rockies, visiting Vincent Velasquez of the Philadelphia Phillies, and it looks like we're in a very similar position. I mean, the Phillies not far from New York, so it makes sense. 71% chance of precipitation, although it looks like it could be a little warmer here, about 74 degrees. Go ahead, Joe.
If it's warmer and it might be raining, that means it is pretty humid, correct? I don't live on the East Coast, am I right?
You are correct, and I'm seeing about 74% humidity as well.
All right. Then I would keep the Rockies. Just keep loading up on those Rockies. They keep hitting. So Velasquez is a strikeout pitcher, but his ERA is 5.98 this year, and his SIERA is over 4. So He's not fooling anybody, so he strikes you out. But he's still gonna. That doesn't mean you might. It doesn't mean that they're not going to score 5 runs off of him or 6 runs off of him tomorrow. On the other side, the Phillies do have a couple guys that can hit lefties. Altair, Herrera, and Saunders has reverse splits. So if those are your options, that's not bad to go with. But once again, follow the weather.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you, man. One thing I will say about Velasquez, I'm with you on the weather here. I think this is a position where you're going to want to take bats from this game. Velasquez has struggled, and you're right. You always kind of want to play him because he's got the K upside as far as the strikeout percentage. The numbers are attractive, and especially at home, I think he's like even better at home. Typically, his numbers are a little better at home in general, which is funny because he pitches at this small ballpark. But the funny thing is, over the last couple of years at home, he's pitched well against lefties. .295 WOBA against lefties. However, at righties, .327, and on the road it's the opposite. On the road, the lefties are the guys he has a problem with. And overall, if you look at his overall stats, it's lefties. But for some reason, at home, he's struggled with righties. So I think that's interesting to mention. And with that said, they got a lot of power, pretty good righties on this Rockies team. So I think on DraftKings, Velasquez can be considered. I wouldn't do it. Not in cash, obviously. And like a tournament, just on a price point, because it's so hard to pick 2 pitchers today. Like on FanDuel, I don't see a need to go there. I think there's enough pitchers that you don't really have to. But I mean, look, he's got the K percentage, he's got the K upside. But I mean, you got to worry about Arenado, Reynolds, Desmond. They've been pretty hot, man. And on the Philly side, man, I'm with you, man. I think these guys they got some pop, and Anderson's not that good, so I like all the bats in this game.
Yeah, it could help. I mean, Velasquez, he's only gone over like 6 innings like 3 times in his last like 10 starts. That's my problem. But I mean, here's classic Velasquez. On April 7th, he went 4 innings and struck out 10.
Right.
I mean, 4 innings though,
like you said,
and he gives up 4 runs. I mean, that's like classic Velasquez right there.
Yep.
So it's not. I don't think. I mean, definitely GPP only, but I don't even know if he has the upside to win you a GPP tomorrow.
Oh no, you're right. You're right. When you look at it from a ceiling perspective, he's one of the only guys to have that kind of K upside with, like as far as potential strikeouts without the ceiling to go with it, right? Like, yeah, I'm with you, man. So maybe I definitely like the bats either way. So maybe we just stick with the bats here. Good call.
Definitely.
All right, we got Daniel Wright of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim visiting Matt Andriese of the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah, I mean, it's another guy we don't really know much about. The Wright is. He is. I'm trying to look here. He's right-handed, and he hasn't faced anybody. He's a rookie. He's just being called up. So I definitely like the lefty bats on the Rays. Dickerson, Kiermaier, Rasmus. Rasmus is a guy that you need to watch because when he gets hot, it happens about once or twice a year. And when he gets hot, you need to ride him for that duration. And then he'll get cold, and you won't want to play him for another 2 months. But he hit a home run tonight, and he's 2,700, so he's not that expensive. His game logs, 18, 3, 6, 24. So he's a boomer bust. So it's more of a GPP play, but against a pitcher that you don't know much about, it's not a bad play. On the other side, you can't. Andriese might be a very one of your few options that you can use tomorrow. There's not much. The Angels aren't great hitting him. You got Trout. Obviously, you can always play Trout, and you can always play pretty much maybe Maven, but when he's batting ahead of Trout, it just always depends who's batting ahead of Trout. That's who I like. So Andriese is attractive, but I'd have to look into him more for tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm with you, man, on Daniel Wright. We don't have much on him. From what the very little size stats I have on him, he hasn't been very good. So yeah, I love the Rays bats here. I'm all over them. I agree with you totally on Rasmus. He's exactly that guy, man. This might be the only chance to play him for the rest of the year. He might be one of those swings. So Yeah, I like the lefties here. Dickerson, his price came down a little bit on FanDuel, down to 3.9, which is a lot better than the 4 and 4.1 he's been at. So I like Dickerson, Morrison, Kiermaier. They're the Rays, man. A strikeout or home run, so they're the epitome of a tournament. So on the other side, Andresi, you make a good case, and again, he's a guy I wouldn't feel comfortable with in cash on any format, but just because he's got reverse splits and the Angels are predominantly right-handed, but he does pitch better at home. He has some around a 22% K percentage at home. So I certainly see the merit, and I think he's a fine GPP play for sure. We know the Angels. If Matt was on here, he'd tell us the Angels are not nearly as they're not really a threatening offense except for Mike Trout. So yeah, man, I think the bats in here are where I want to go. But if you want to throw Andresi in the tournament, man, I totally get it. His pitching on this early slate is rough.
Yeah, see, I don't see. I mean, you didn't really like Nova, but I don't even see another cash. I don't see a cash game pitcher then if it's not Andresi or Nova. That's the problem. I don't see a cash game pitcher in this slate.
No,
Maybe
yeah.
just don't. I mean, maybe we got 2 more games to go over, but I mean, even in those, I mean, I wouldn't be. I'm not comfortable. So
Yeah. Yeah. No.
yeah.
No. 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 You know what? You're right, man. I mean, I'm going through. You know what it was, man? The guy I was thinking about was Tanaka, but
Mhm.
I didn't realize until we got to the game that there's weather problems.
Mhm.
So when we talked about Nova, I was like, oh no, because in my head I already had a guy. I'm like, no, I know where I'm going. You know what I mean? So it's like, listen, if the weather clears up, it's going to be Nova. If not, I mean, it's going to be Tanaka. If I can't get Tanaka, then I'm going to have to make some decisions.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to take a second look at Nova, even though I really don't want to. I really don't like playing Nova.
Yeah.
It's gonna be rough, man. Maybe you know what? Maybe it's not a good slate for cash.
Yeah, it might not be. I mean, the highest pitcher on the slate is Samardzija.
Yeah,
So
against the Cubs. I
ugh.
mean, well, you know what? He's the next game. Let's talk about him. We got Jeff
Right.
Samardzija of the San Francisco Giants visiting Eddie Butler of the Chicago Cubs. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, you can go with it's a revenge game. I mean, he used to play for the Cubs. Samardzija's had some like really surprisingly good outings this year, but then he's also had outings where he just looks like he can't get you and I out. So what do? The Cubs, on the other hand, they're not hitting very good either. So, I mean, do I say go play Samardzija? Probably not, because for his price being the highest one on there, I'm not like impressed by it. But I don't think it's necessarily. It's definitely a high risk GPP move, but yet he could strike out 10. He could. He has that in him. He says it this year. I mean, Fangraphs has him as a 28.5 strikeout percentage right now. I'm looking that up. And his Sierra is 2.97. So he's been playing. He's definitely, his ERA is a lot higher than his Sierra. So that means that he's been getting a little bit unlucky. So I don't know. In GPPs, maybe roll with Samardzija. Now that I look at it, the Cubs have not been hitting very well. Check for the weather, obviously, see even if it's blown in or not or out. But and as the other side, Eddie Butler, he's the rookie. Giants have been fairly hot lately, so I don't even mind stacking a little bit of the Giants too. Crawford, Nunez. Nunez is always good for cash. Posey, Belt. Good look. Also, Panic is if he leads off, he's like 2,400. Really good salary relief player.
Yeah, no, Marge is interesting, right? Like the wind, from what I see now, the wind's blowing in about 13 miles an hour from left. Now that could change, but if we wake up and this total is not like 10, then or 9, then we know the wind is blowing in. Now, one thing about Samardzija that's interesting, you mentioned those numbers, and they are impressive in 2017. However, if we look at a larger sample size over the last 2 years, Samardzija on the road, his K per 9 is about 7. His K rate on the road over the last 2 years is about 19.82%. So it's not bad, like you mentioned. Now his WOBA over the last 2 years is about 291 on the road. it's actually better than his home WOBA has been over that span. And now, granted, he played in Wrigley, and now he's had some time with the Giants. So we're only talking 2 years here. The interesting thing though, he's been dominant against righties, 243 WOBA on the road, but against lefties 341. So he's got a serious lefty issue. The wind blowing in helps, but still it's kind of scary. Like normally I would love him in cash in this spot. It's just the Cubs offense is very scary, right? Like the lefties they have, Schwarber, Rizzo, Happ, Hayward, like they're just not guys that, it's even Zobrist, they're just not guys you want to pick on. So listen, if I wake up and for some strange reason the Cubs decide to throw out a ton of righties out there, then yeah, Samardzija might be my guy, But if they're gonna throw out this predominantly left-handed lineup, I don't think I could take the chance, even in this situation, despite the fact that his numbers are decent.
Right? Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed.
All right. As far as cash games though, I don't mind Panic. I'm with you, man. I noticed him too at 2.7 on FanDuel. I definitely noticed. Mm-hmm. All right, we got Ariel Miranda, the lefty from the Seattle Mariners, visiting Gio Gonzalez of the Washington Nationals. Again, looks like we could have some more weather concerns. 68% precipitation, some light rain, about 72 degrees. Go ahead, Joe.
All right. Well, since on the West Coast, it will be breakfast time. This will be my breakfast sandwich stack of the day. This is my sausage McMuffin with egg stack.
Sausage McMuffin with egg stack. This is my sausage McMuffin with egg stack.
All right, so Gio's pitching. He seems to pitch better at home. I'll give him that. But you got Nelson Cruz against lefties. He's good. Cano's back in that lineup. I like that. On the other side, Bryce Harper against lefties. His WOBA is amazing. Daniel Murphy, Turner, Worth. They're the best offense in baseball. So I don't mind if you want to stack this game. It's pretty good. Check the weather. Most of the bats are in play. I like everyone. I don't know. Gio is definitely another guy. I guess he almost might be. You look at him, he may be the safest in some ways if he just can get around Cruz. It's just something right now. This is the first look that I have, so I'm not too sure. But Gio, he's very deceptive sometimes on his performances. And, you look at it, it just is up and down, 20, 36, 6, 36, 39, 44. So unless he has had one really, really bad outing and everything else has kind of been around, 30 points.
Yeah. Yeah, you make a good case with Gio. He's another guy I was looking at, man. I was a little surprised to see, I was, well, not surprised. Can't be surprised, but I was a little disappointed to see the run projection for Seattle, because at first, man, I kind of did like Gio. If you're going to take a side against Seattle, you typically want to take a lefty, just because I know you got Nelson Cruz, but having to deal with Nelson Cruz is better than having to deal with Cruz, Cano, and Seager, three of their top power hitters. So if you're going to target Seattle, you typically want the lefties. And Gio, like you said, he could be deceptive. Do I love the guy? No, but if Cano and Seager are playing, he's got a 264 WOBA to lefties over the last 2 years at home. And in general, he's got better home numbers in general. But he's going to but he's pretty good at controlling these lefties. Now, 314 WOBA to righties, you got to worry about Cruz, obviously. But at the very least, at least he's a little bit better at home than he is on the road against righties. So it's a catch-22, man. It's really tough. It's, again, like you said, yeah, in tournaments, I think why not? Because in tournaments, who isn't in play on a slate like this? But in cash games, is he safe? Maybe. He might be one of the safer options. I mean, he typically, even when he gets blown up, he typically goes at least 5-6 innings anyway, even if he gives up 4 runs. He's going to get a couple strikeouts at least. So it's a matter of, what do you feel more safe with? Him in this ballpark with this weather against Seattle, or a guy like Tanaka, or a guy like Nova? You know what I mean? That's really where we're at, man. It's ugly.
I'm looking at something right now I just saw that just got posted. They're saying that the run total right now in the Chicago game is 7.
Wow. 7 total?
7.
It's good. It must because of the wind blowing in. If that's true,
and Chicago's a minus 190.
Chicago's a minus 190?
Yeah. That's what it says here. I'm on Roto Grinders.
That is insane.
The first look, yeah.
Oh, that up real quick. That is. Let me
I
see
mean,
what
a
that thing.
7. I mean, that's
7, and then, but what I'm honestly surprised about is I know Butler had a good game last time, but I mean, for him to be that much of a favorite, if that's true, because like on Labs right now, I think it says the Cubs are minus 106 or something like that.
hmm
But it,
they
I
got
mean,
the Cubs run total as 4.02 runs,
wow, no kidding.
and the Giants is 2.98.
Wow,
Vegas loves Butler tomorrow. It
that is
seems.
that is interesting.
It seems Vegas loves Butler tomorrow. So that's a little nugget. I don't know. I mean, the one good thing about if you're listening to these podcasts tonight is that or in the morning is that there's not much out before the games get going. At least on the West Coast. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's not much. The game started at 9:30 or 10 o'clock. So, yeah, that's the Vegas seems to love Butler.
That's interesting. I have to monitor that because I'm gonna be honest, man. Like I was considering, like when you said 7, my first thought was, oh, Samardzija could be safe. That was my first thought. And then all of a sudden, you mentioned that he's a huge underdog like that. That worries me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and then now there's some concern. So if we wake up and this line really is 190, the Cubs, then I think you have to consider Butler as far as price and and his last performance and the fact that Vegas seems to strongly support him. It's like, do I want to play Butler? No. Let me look at Butler's numbers right here real quick. So we've got 27 games here over his last 2 years. Like you can figure some of them are home, some of them are on the road. I'm only looking at his stats that are when he's at home, and this is stats from cores, so they're going to be inflated. 449 WOBA in cores. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is on the road, so this is not when he's at cores. This has been him on this has been him on the road. 449 WOBA to the lefties, 434 WOBA to righties. So he's been bad. All of a sudden, this series good. Now again, that's away from cores. That's like even though his home base was cores, that was away from cores. So, listen, 27 games in general, and then you cut that in half. That's a tiny sample size. It's not big enough. So obviously something is working for him. There's a reason he's up here now. So and he's having the success. So yeah, if Vegas likes him, listen, if he's only favored by a little, maybe not so much. But if he's favored by 190 and a 7-run total, a 7-game total, I think you have to consider Butler for sure, at least in tournaments.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
All right, you ready to talk about the main slate?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, we got Nick Martinez of the Texas Rangers visiting Drew Pomeranz, another lefty from the Boston Red Sox. Go ahead.
Yeah, I like this game. I like this game a lot. This is Nick Martinez. His Sierra is terrible at 5.37. The opponent's strikeout percentage is 18%. The opponent's WOBA is 325. He is a minus 260 underdog. Attack Nick Martinez. Stack the Boston Red Sox. I'm a little bit concerned on Mookie Betts. He hasn't been producing. I think maybe this is the player that maybe he really is. I don't know if he was a 35 home run guy like he was last year. I don't know. That might have been a little bit of an aberration. I think this is the way kind of like how he is. But Bogarts, Pedroia, very good plays. On the other side, you got Napoli. You got some guys that can hit righties, Rua. So this game is a very
Lefties.
attractive game.
Lefties.
You get lefties, yeah. So Rua and Napoli. So yeah, I like this game a lot.
Yeah, I like this. I like the Red Sox a lot. I'm not crazy about the Rangers. From a game theory perspective, Pomeranz could be somebody that I would be willing to take a chance on in a tournament. Now, listen, there's one pitcher on here. Aside from my homerism, you already know there's one pitcher on this slate that I love and I'm going to have a ton of exposure to. The only other potential pivot that I can even really see off the top of my head that I would feel comfortable with would probably be Pomeranz. It's because he does have K upside. I know he's pitching in Boston now, so the numbers are a little skewed going from San Diego. But some pitchers have a good feel that they like to be home. They like to be rooted by their fans. They like to pitch first, get on that mound, and set the tone for the game. So 3.8 is the run total I'm seeing for Texas. That's pretty low. People saw them kind of hit sail today. So from a game theory perspective, I can see people thinking, "Oh, I'm not falling for this. I'm going to play these Texas Rangers because people like to play the Rangers, and you should because they have a lot of power." So I can see them kind of going there, and then for some reason, Pomeranz just shuts them down because the Tigers are. The Tigers. So the Rangers are striking out a ton this year. So I love like you said. Forget about the Boston Bats. Forget about it, man. Nick Martinez is terrible. He don't strike anybody out. He's awful. So yeah, I'm with you on the offense, but I'm not as big as the Rangers offense, and I'm a little higher on Pomeranz. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm looking at Pomeranz now. He's 7,500 on FanDuel. That's
Right.
pretty damn cheap.
Right.
His strikeout percentage is 26.5. He's a -260 favorite, and the opponent's strikeout percentage is almost 25%.
Right.
So, it definitely, I think in cash and GPPs, it's somebody to look at.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, I would probably prefer him in tournaments. Just because, well, on DraftKings, sure. On DraftKings, yeah, he might be the cash guy. Him and Degrom together. But on FanDuel, it's like, to me, it's like nobody has a safer floor than him. I know he's expensive, but I feel like you can always kind of find the right pump plays to work. But and not to mention, there's a chance that Texas can hit. There's a chance that they blow this guy up. It is Boston, a small park, and they got some powerful righties. Napoli's obviously he likes being back in Boston. Apparently, he went off sale today, so. So yeah, so I'm with you. In DraftKings, sure. On FanDuel, I think it's just Degrom. For cash, GPPs, I love Pomeranz. Anyway, here's another one. Dinelson Lamet. I'm assuming I'm saying that right. Of the San Diego Padres visiting Jacob Degrom of the New York Mets. Hopefully this weather clears out, man. Because so far the last 3 or 4 games we've talked about all have a little bit of rain coming in.
Yeah, so it could affect this game too.
It could affect everything. This podcast could be worthless if this
weather
don't clear up.
It's so well, obviously. Okay, so Dinelson Lamet. I don't know much about him, but I'll tell you this: Jared Weaver pitched before him. Okay, so if Jared Weaver can have a spot before this guy, I can't imagine this guy coming in and having lights out stuff, because if he did, I think he would be pitching before Jared Weaver. So just think about that, all right? So Mets, all right? Lefty Mets bats. I was on here on Monday and I said, Chacin is bad on the road, stack the Mets. And I didn't take my own advice. I'm telling you, who is this guy, right? Can't be that good. Stack the Mets. On the other side, Degrom, I mean, he's really the only pitcher on the slate. The fact that he's 11,000 is a little high, I think. You've wallowed him more, so maybe you could tell me if he's really worth 11. I thought it's a little high, but with what's on the slate, I would say go to war with him, and then figure it out other ways.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna tell you some stuff about DeGrom. So I'm gonna give you the split stats because I like to look at split stats. So at home over the last 2 years, his K per 9 is 11 K per 9. His strikeout percentage is 30.48. His WOBA at home is 254. His WOBA against lefties 261, and his WOBA against righties 247. So at home, he does have a little bit of an. He's a good play always. He's DeGrom, but he does have a little bit of an edge at home. He seems to love playing at Citi Field. I don't blame him. He's got significant differences, like his righty WOBA. It's a 6.7% difference as far as his righty WOBA splits when he's at home or away. So he does. It's a thing. He plays better at home. His strikeout percentage is higher. Everything is better for him. His swinging strike rate this year is 15.3%. He's just getting guys to swing and miss. The Padres are that team. So in cash games, you have to pay up for him. And the reason is because not only is his floor the highest, but there's very few people, maybe a Robbie Ray, who we'll talk about later, or maybe a Verlander or something, that are going to come close to his ceiling if he hits that ceiling. And if some guys, if 30% or 40% of that field in that 50-50 have DeGrom, he puts up a 60 burger, and you have the next highest pitcher even who only puts up 40, you're going to have a lot of making up to do. So That's my case for DeGrom. In tournaments, I think there's a couple plays where you can play the price point, try to differentiate, and pay up for some bats. I think there's a couple guys that you can take a chance on. We mentioned one of them with Pomerantz. But in cash games, I think DeGrom is just, you don't think about it. You just play DeGrom against the Padres. As long as the weather's good, of course, that could change everything. And then, of course, like you said, I wasn't too big on the Mets. I don't know why. I wasn't really thinking about their offense because I guess I locked into DeGrom. But now that you mentioned it, you're right, man. If it takes Jared Weaver getting hurt for him to get a start, then how good could he be, right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a great point, man.
I mean, it's the obvious thing, just is like smacking you in the face. I mean, another thing about DeGrom, in his last 7 starts, he's put up 58 3 times.
Yeah, and
that's pretty good.
Even there was a game where he got rocked. He had 58. He got rocked one of those games. Like he gave it like 4
21
runs.
Was his lowest.
21 was his low. I think that was against Milwaukee or something like that. But
Atlanta.
Atlanta. Okay. If you one of those 58 games, I remember because I had a bet with Matt, and he had Stroman and I had DeGrom, and I start getting the tweets and the texts, giving me a hard time. Oh, get ready to change your avatar or whatever. And then I looked at DeGrom. DeGrom and Stroman were neck and neck, and Stroman was having like a game of his life. He ended up putting up like 52 that night, which is for him that's great. Mm-hmm. And so they thought they had it in the bag because DeGrom had given up 4 runs. Sure enough, they looked back. DeGrom ended up with 58 that night. They left him in the game for like 7-8 innings. So I ended up winning the bet. But I'm telling you, man, DeGrom at home, man. I love DeGrom at home, man. And especially against this Padres team. If this weather holds up, which it looks like light rain, so I'm hoping it will, I'm going to, in cash games, I don't have to think this time. I don't have to look at a model. Don't get me wrong, the model already has DeGrom through the roof significantly. He's like same thing Sale was last night and Kershaw was the night before. So I'll be all over DeGrom and cash, man.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's see. We got Justin Verlander of the Detroit Tigers visiting Mike Fears or Fires. I'm not exactly sure which way to say it. Of the Houston Astros. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just like you look at that and you're like, you like Verlander, but you just don't want to go against those bats. And on the flip side, it's the same thing. Like Fires has some strikeout potential, but I just don't see those bats on the Tigers. JD Martinez took the day off today. He's going to be back tomorrow. I just say stay away. I just don't see any other I just kind of like, I guess if you want to do one-offs on this game, I would but I don't really like this game at all.
I can't believe that. I'm a little surprised that the Astros are favored here. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I was kind of shocked. I mean, when this happens, this is something that I always go back to, like my days when I used to do a lot of research on Vegas and the industry over there. And it's just one of those things where it seems like Vegas is picking a side again. You got Verlander against Fears is terrible, and he's been bad. Okay, maybe he's had a couple good games here or there, but when he gets blown up, it gets pretty ugly. And he's going up again. Granted, the Tigers do strike out with the best of them, but still, it's just strange. Now, one thing I will say is I'm looking at Verlander's stats a little bit now from our model. While his K rate is certainly there, his WOBA numbers aren't bad, but he is slightly reverse splits. It's interesting. A 272 WOBA when he's on the road over the last 2 years, a 308 to righties over the last 3 years, which is 3% worse, or 3.7% worse than when he's at home. So that does not bode well against Houston because some of their best hitters are righties. So that kind of makes sense. I think they may leave the roof open because it's going to be about 83 degrees and the humidity is about 51%. And if they leave that roof open, it looks like there's also some wind blowing out. This could be just Bat City right here. You might have a situation like where people are going to stay away from the Astros because even though they're favored, they're going to be like, I don't want to mess with Verlander. This does not look like a good spot for him. Verlander's swinging strike rate is down this year. Like last year, he had a great year. It was at 11%. Over the last 2 years, I should say, it's about 11%. Right now, this year, it's 9.3. That's not getting it done. And on top of that, Houston is not really striking out this year like they were last year. They brought in some of these guys. I don't know if it's Reddick or what, but they changed their philosophy. But they're not striking out as much as they did last year. So I don't like Verlander, and I think all the bats from both sides. I'm not taking any merit that Fears is any good. I think that Miggy's a great play. Kinsler, all these guys are great. And the Tigers' prices are starting to drop a little bit now that they've been struggling. I say load up on both sides here. I like both sides of these bats for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got Robbie Ray, the lefty from the Arizona Diamondbacks, visiting Zach Davies of the Milwaukee Brewers. Go ahead.
Yeah, you gotta, especially if the roof is going to be closed. I think you gotta just keep rolling with the Diamondbacks here. Zach Davies is nothing special. He Let's see here. Let's just bring up his stats here. His Sierra is 4.22. His strikeout percentage is 19%. Nothing to write home about. So I think you can attack him. And as for Ray, it's one of those things where I want to see the Brewers lineup. And if for some odd reason Thames and Shaw are out, and then Ray becomes a really good play. If Thames and Shaw are in, I like Thames against lefties. So he's actually has pretty good, decent splits against lefties. So also if Braun is in the lineup, if he's out too, if any three of those guys are out or all three of them, definitely Robbie Ray becomes a play because he definitely has good strikeout upside. But yeah, that's basically what I got. Diamondbacks bats, keep riding them until they get cold.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Diamondbacks Diamondbacks bats, and it looks like he really struggled at home. He seems to, as Davies that is, he really seems to struggle against lefties. So Peralta, Lamb's been a monster, man. That dude is just smashing. But yeah, you're right, man. The Diamondbacks are hot. I wouldn't shy away, especially from their lefties. Like even if Blanco or Fuentes, either one of those guys, Peralta, I give him a shot here. Robbie Ray, it's interesting because when you were talking about how Thames and Shaw, if they're in Atlanta, I think for Shaw maybe not so much, but Thames, you made a great point with the fact that he's hitting lefties well too. So, I'd rather have a crappy righty against Ray than Thames against Ray because Ray, like you mentioned, he's hitting lefties well. And we know Robbie Ray. I like Robbie Ray. His numbers are typically better on the road. That's because he plays in Arizona. So problem is he's going to another hitter's ballpark here. So I think I think that's kind of a moot point at that point. The problem with Robbie Ray is he does get hit kind of hard. Now in his defense, his swinging strike rate over the last 2 years about 10.8. It's 12.9 this year. So he's getting the swings and misses. I think he's fine for tournaments. I think Ray's fine for tournaments. But again, see, this is the problem between Verlander and Ray. You can't comfortably play either one of them in cash over Degrom. You just can't
No.
do it. So even though Degrom is expensive, you have no choice. In cash games, you have to do it because
Mm-hmm.
Ray is a risk. Yeah, he can get a ton of strikeouts. Milwaukee strikes out, but they also have a ton of righties. They're a very right-handed lineup, and still a hitter's ballpark. So he's not a lock. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, I love Ray in tournaments, but I also like Milwaukee bats in tournaments. You know what I'm saying? So I like all the bats, but I also have a little bit of interest in Ray for tournaments. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
oh man. Anyway, we got Michael Walker of the St. Louis Cardinals visiting Kenta Maeda of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Looks like it's the last game of the main slate.
Yeah, I was looking at this, and everybody likes the Dodgers because they hit righties really well. If you want a safe pitcher tomorrow, the safest besides DeGrom might be Michael Walker. He's only gotten under 30 points once this year. I mean, if his salary is 8.7, so if your goal is to get 3.5 times, that is, he basically gets that every time he goes out on the mound. But the Dodgers do hit lefties well. Bellinger,
Righties.
Seager, Grandal,
They had
Gonzalez.
righties well.
They hit righties well. Their lefties hit righties well. Yeah,
I knew what you meant, brother.
yeah. I think everybody else knew what I meant. But yeah, they hit righties really really well. So it's tough. It's something that you're gonna have to wonder. You're gonna have to. Do you want to pay down for that? I don't think so in cash because the Dodgers do. You're trying to get for cash. You want the safest route. The fastest way to get there. So that's DeGrom. So Waka would be maybe a GPP would afford you some more bats, but I don't think he puts the upside. So it's up to you.
My problem. Listen, you're absolutely right as far as let's go over one thing I'll say about Waka is yeah, the Dodgers lefties are scary, are worrisome. However, Walker is a big reverse splits guy himself. On the road over the last 2 years, his WOBA versus lefties on the road is 0.269. Pretty good. Against righties, 339. So he's a reverse splits guy. So it's really the righties you kind of have to worry about, and their righties outside of like Puig aren't as threatening. So yeah, I think you make a decent point. Now, and again, in cash, I couldn't really do it in cash, especially because at the same time, Maeda on the other side also seems somewhat safe. He's at home. He pitches better at home, and he's another guy that's got he's got K upside also, similar to Waka, but he's got a 282 WOBA at home. He's got a 299 to lefties, 266 to righties. So it's like he's only 300 more. So it's kind of like a battle. Which one of these guys you're going to take? Probably Maeda because he's favored, I guess. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's tough. So in tournaments, I see them both now on DraftKings. I certainly see. I don't know what do you know what his price is on DraftKings, Waka?
Yeah. Hold on one second. I'll find it.
Because if he's cheap enough, I can see him and Degrom. Because Maeda is probably more
expensive. He's 7,800.
Okay, see that's attractive there. See, I could work with that. What about Maeda?
Maeda is. Let's see, where is he? 8,800. He's another extra 1,000.
Right. So on DraftKings, it makes a ton of sense to take a shot and play Walker as an SP2. It does because, like you said, he's one of the safer options just from a game log perspective. Is he safe in the grand scale? If you have one pitcher, is he your safest guy? Absolutely not. But when you consider price in an SP2, when you consider these things, and you consider his game logs, and you consider he is in the Dodgers are struggling offensively. He's a reverse splits guy, and they're all their power guys are lefties. Yeah, it kind of does make some sense to put him as an SP2 on DraftKings. So I think you made a great point, Joe. Anyway, that's it as far as the game breakdowns. We got one thing left to do, man, and that's play Dong Watch, man.
Let's do it.
Let's do it, brother. Go ahead, man. You get the first pick.
Bryce Harper.
Bryce Harper. There it is. Harper. All right, so Harper. I'm going to go. Let me think about this. I want to go with Dickerson.
So don't you get two? Or
no? Yeah, my bad. You're absolutely right. I do get two. See, you catching on already, man. You catching me slipping already, man. Man, you know what? This guy is always terrible. He has not been well for me. I want to take Zimmerman because Miranda's a guy that I think gives up a ton. I don't know if I mentioned, but I love the Nats tomorrow. I don't know if I stressed that hard enough for that. I was talking about Gio. I forgot to mention their offense.
Yeah, we did.
Against Miranda. They have a 5.2 run projection. Miranda gives up a ton of home runs. The Nats have been swinging the bats well. Yeah, we probably both like the Nationals offense, right? So, so I think I will take. I'm going to go with Trey Turner. That's what I'm going to do. Go with Trey Turner. I feel better with.
All right, so I got two now.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go with Nelson Cruz. And finally, let's go with a Lamberger, Jake Lamb.
That's a good one right there. Ooh, I'm gonna try to pick somebody from this Houston game. I think I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with George Springer here. I have a feeling he's gonna get one of his leadoff homers. You know what I'm saying?
No, good call against him. George Springer has good BVP against Verlander. He is. I was looking at it earlier, and it's still got. I put his name down here. Let's see. Let me look it up again. He is. Let's see. He's 5 for 10 against Verlander with 109 average exit velocity.
Ooh.
So that means he hits him hard. He has one home run and 4 singles.
Ooh, what was all this stuff when we were talking about the game, man? That's gold right there.
Yeah. So sometimes it hits me and then it doesn't. So it's like
oh yeah, I'm with you. Bro. I'm with you.
So yeah, Springer, he's, like I said, 5 for 10. If you're a BDP guy, that's good. What I like to look at is the average exit velocity, because that means that even when he is getting out, that means that he's crushing the ball though. So he's seeing his pitches.
He's hitting him hard. That's a situation where I could buy into BVP a little bit. If you're consistently hitting a guy hard, like, and I'm not talking about like, 20% of the time you're hitting him hard. If you're hitting him hard, like, 60, 70% of the time, okay, yeah, you see something. Like there's something about this pitcher that you're seeing very well. So I'll buy into it a little bit there.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Joe, listen, man, it was the first time. It was just me and you on here, man. You did great. Had a lot of fun talking baseball with you, as always. I mean, I don't know. I didn't expect anything different, brother. So great job, man. I appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. And it's a lot of fun talking baseball. And everybody out there, good luck tomorrow. And, I'll be out there playing right with y'all.
Absolutely, man. And Fuego, wherever you are, brother, you were supposed to be on the pod today. I think he fell asleep. I don't know, but hey, hopefully, I know some of the guys want Fuego back. Of course, we all want Fuego back. But listen, man, hopefully we'll have him on tomorrow. And if not, Fuego's got to do. Fuego's got to do, man. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes he's got to do what he's got to do. So he'll be on when he comes on. Hopefully, he'll be on tomorrow though. Anyway, Fuego, shout out to Fuego. Hopefully, we'll talk to you tomorrow, buddy. All right, guys, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that thumbs up. That likes button means a lot to us. Subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on Podbean, give us a follow. If you're listening on FanDuel, if you're listening, oh God, if you're listening on iTunes, please leave us some positive reviews, bump us up those charts. Also subscribe as well. We're trying to grow the best way we can, and we're glad you guys enjoy the show, and we want to hear about it. We want to hear. Anyway, guys, for Patio Joe, for myself, as always, good luck.
Peace.